Hey guys, who was Odysseus really? The man behind the legend. Before we begin, let me ask you something. What if the greatest hero in history was not the strongest man on the battlefield, but the smartest man in the room? Think about that for a just moment. History celebrates power. Legends remember fearless warrior, but only a few names survive for thousands of years. One of those names is Odysseus. And here the strange part. Almost everyone has heard his name, yet very few people truly understand who he really was. Was he simply a king, a soldier, a sailor? Or was he something far more dangerous? A man whose greatest weapon was not his strength, but his mind, long before detectives solved impossible mysteries. Long before military strategists wrote books about war, long before modern psychology tried to understand human decision making, there was one man who survived impossible situations using intelligence instead of brute force. That man was Odysseus. This is exactly what makes his story timeless. He was not perfect. He made mistakes. He failed. He suffered. He lost people he loved. He faced fear, temptation, loneliness, and impossible choices. Yet every challenge shaped him into something greater. That's why his story still feels surprisingly modern even after nearly 3,000 years. And maybe that's exactly that attracted Christopher Nolan, because Nolan has never been interested in simple heroes. He creates characters who are forced to make impossible decisions, characters whose greatest battle happen inside their own minds. Think about Inception, think about Interstellar, think about Oppenheimer. None of these stories are just about action. They are about ideas, sacrifice, time, memory, and the price of every decision. Odysseus fits that word perfectly, because beneath the myth, beneath the monsters, beneath the legendary journey, lies the story of a man trying to find his way home. But before he became history's greatest traveler, he first had to become the man who changed the outcome of the greatest war the ancient world had ever seen. And that's where our the mind story that truly changed begins. The war. To understand Odysseus, we first have to travel back to one of the greatest conflicts in ancient history, the Trojan War. For nearly 10 years, the world's most powerful warriors stood outside the wall of Troy. They had unmatched strength, they had legendary fighters, they had numbers, and yet they could not win. Every battle came at a terrible cost. Every victory felt incomplete. Every passing year drained hope from both armies. Then something happened. A different kind of leader stepped forward. Not the strongest, not the loudest, but perhaps the most dangerous. Because Odysseus understood something that many warriors never did. Sometimes the fastest way to win is not through force, but through strategy. While others searched for a stronger weapon, he searched for a better idea. While others hid into battle, he studied his opponent. He swayed, he waited, he thought. And when the right moment finally arrived, his were never built on raw power. They were built on patience, observation, and the courage to think differently. That's what separated him from everyone else. This was not the story of an unbeatable warrior. It was the story of a man who believed that the human mind could overcome challenges that strength alone never could. And perhaps that's why his legend has survived for thousands of years, because every generation faces impossible problems, and every generation asks the same question: what do you do when strength is not enough? Odysseus offered one answer: think differently. Think differently. But that answer came with a price, because every clear decision creates new consequences. Every victory opened the door to an even greater challenge, and for Odysseus, the greatest challenge had not even begun. The war would end, but his real journey was about to begin. The journey that changed everything. Most stories end when the war is over, but for Odysseus, That was only the beginning. Imagine surviving one of history's greatest conflicts. Imagine believing that home is finally within reach. You can almost see it. Your family, your kingdom, your old life waiting for you. Then suddenly everything changed. The sea becomes your greatest enemy. Every island hides a new danger. Every decision carries a cost. Every step toward home somehow pulls you even further away. This is what makes Odysseus different from almost every legendary hero. His greatest battle was not against an army, it was against uncertainty, against fear, against exhaustion, against the temptation to give up. That's why his story still feels too modern today, because most of us do not fight ancient war. We fight doubt, we fight failure, we fight disappointment, we fight the long journey between where we are and where we want to be. And that's exactly why this story continues to matter. It's not just about mythology, it's about being human. Christopher Nolan has always been fascinated by characters who are forced to make impossible choices, characters who question reality, who struggle with time, memory, sacrifice, and identity. Odysseus fits that pattern perfectly because every challenge on his journey was not just a physical obstacle, it was a test of his character. Every loss changed him, every victory humbled him, every mistake taught him something new. By the time he moved closer to home, he was no longer the same man who had left for war. He had become something far greater, not simply a survivor, but a man transformed by the journey itself. And maybe that's the real reason this ancient story still refuses to die.